Hey everybody, hope you're enjoying your day. Hope you had an awesome Juneteenth yesterday. And today I'm coming on with my weekly music, but I also want to talk with you guys about some history and share some information I have. First off, I would like to say the building that I'm in right now, where I live, is located on lands that belong to the Catawba and the Carolina Siouans. And I don't take for granted that I live on these lands that they stewarded for thousands of years before Europeans came and forced them out of their lands, took what they had, and enacted genocide on them as well. Um, Next, I would like to say that the music that I'm going to play today includes a lot of influences from my jazz education and what I've learned from Black American music. And I would like to thank African Americans as a whole, African American musicians of the past and present, for your contribution of music to the world. I don't take it lightly that I've had the opportunity to learn this music and be influenced by it. And the piece that I have for you today definitely is. And without further ado, this is called Foundations. When I'm finished with this, I'm going to talk about some history that I want to share with you. Also, want to give a shout out to the person who I learned almost all of this history from. His name is Mark Charles. He was actually running for president this year in 2020. He also has a lot of good talks and lectures on YouTube that have completely changed my perspective. I grew up in the Roman Catholic tradition, had all those ideas, and also grew up just as a white man in America, had all those ideas, and I credit a lot of brave speakers, especially on YouTube. Like, I just love YouTube for learning, who have taught me so much. Mark Charles is definitely right there at the top of that list. So I'm including a few links to Mark's stuff in the description, and I hope you check him out. I think you will really be floored to hear what he has to say. So thank you, Mark Charles. Here comes my music, and then after that, I'll talk about the history. Happy Juneteenth yesterday. Enjoy. Hey everybody, it's Will. I'm just coming on to tell you guys about a few things of history that I want to share with you. These have been really insightful for me to learn and know, and I hope that you'll find them interesting and helpful to you as well. So, the first one is something called the doctrine of discovery. This is something that was written by Catholic popes in the 1400s. Now, you might be asking, like, what do the 1400s have to do with anything that we're doing? Well, maybe you will see after I tell you about this. 1452 was the first document that's considered part of the doctrine of discovery, which was what the Catholic popes put out in several different writings from 1452 to 1493. In 1452, Pope Nicholas V released the papal bull titled Dum Diversas, and it's actually the first document in the doctrine of discovery. So, in this papal bull, I'm going to go ahead and read it off to you verbatim. This is when the Pope Nicholas V was communicating with King Afonso of Portugal. Portugal and Spain,
in the Iberian Peninsula of Western Europe, they were competing with each other to get lands and gain riches. They had also at this time just finished with the Spanish Inquisition, and the Reconquista, which was when the Catholic people in the area fought against the Moors, who were Muslim, who had controlled Spain and had a golden age in Spain for about 700 years. During the Reconquista, the Catholics fought against them. It was a brutal, violent time, and that was also, to my understanding, the first time when the term black and white was used. And the reason that it was used was because the Catholics wanted something where they could quickly identify who was an infidel and therefore should be killed. So, because they were apparently they were accidentally killing some Catholics as well. So, as you can see, Christianity is tied in very deeply with racism, white supremacy. And but back to Dum Diversas, the first papal bull in the Doctrine of Discovery. This is written by Pope Nicholas V, and it's being written to the King of Portugal, who was vying against the Spanish monarchs as well for riches and control over areas in northwest Africa and other areas they were finding. Here's what it says. We, weighing all and singular the premises with due meditation, and noting that since we had formerly by other letters of ours granted, among other things, free and ample faculty to the aforesaid King Alfonso to invade, search out, capture, vanquish, and subdue all Saracens and pagans whatsoever. Saracens was a term being used to identify the Muslims who were there. All Saracens and pagans whatsoever, and other enemies of Christ, wherever so placed, and in the kingdoms, dukedoms, principalities, dominions, possessions, and all movable and immovable goods, whatsoever held and possessed by them, and to reduce their persons to perpetual slavery, and to apply and appropriate to himself, his successors, the kingdom, dukedoms, counties, principalities, dominions, possessions, and goods, and to convert them to his and their use and profit. By having secured the said faculty, the said King Alfonso, or by his authority, the aforesaid Infante, justly and lawfully has acquired and possessed, and doth possess, these islands, lands, harbors, and seas, and they do of right belong and pertain to the said King Alfonso and his successors. So in this document, Dum Diversas, the first papal bull in the Doctrine of Discovery, this was the Roman Catholic Church giving their permission, their blessing, with the authority of God on earth, as the Roman Catholic Pope is considered to be God's representative on earth, in their corruption of the teachings of Jesus Christ. This is that representative of God on earth, giving permission to this European king, King Alfonso of Portugal, to invade anyone who is not Christian. And in fact, this was also used really just to be anyone who was not, any place that was not ruled by European Christian monarchs. It's giving this king full permission to kill them, enslave them, take everything they have, and rule over that place as their own possession. And it's ordained by the representative of God on earth in that Roman Catholic tradition at this time. So this is a moment that is a huge turning point. There were other papal bulls that came after this one that kept it going in this direction. And of course, we know not long after 1452, when this one came out that I read to you, we have Christopher Columbus sailing and reaching not India, as he thought, but the Caribbean. we understand that this began the European conquest, which just a few short years ago had taken on the opinion that anyone who was not a Christian, their lands are yours for the taking, kill them, enslave them. Their life has no inherent value. It's so sad to see that like the teachings of Jesus Christ are like just so corrupted in this way. Another part that seems to be a stepping stone in my research about it is how the Roman Emperor Constantine took on Christianity and made it the imperial religion of the Roman Empire. And it began to be used to justify Roman emperors' campaigns throughout the area as they were killing people and taking their land and expanding. So it became a Christianity of empire, not the Christianity of Jesus' teaching. It began to be used to get things. So after this doctrine of discovery, we have Columbus sailing to the Americas. And then we have the centuries of genocide, enslavement, the Atlantic slave trade. Eventually we get around to the American independence. And there are so many Americans and folks around the world who still don't want to acknowledge these truths because it's more comfortable to have a feel-good moment about your country, a feel-good moment about the flag, a feel-good moment about the Pledge of Allegiance, the national anthem, all that. But the Declaration of Independence, just a few lines down from its beginning, refers to Native Americans as merciless Indian savages. It's there. Look it up yourself. It's written right there. This has never been dealt with. Like, we've never had like a national talk about this where we've actually looked at every single thing that non-white people have suffered. And we have not like stopped what we are doing and listened to their testimonies. And then we have the Constitution of the United States just a little bit later on that never mentions women, refers to Africans as 3/5 of a person. And then we think that we dealt with this with the Civil War amendments, the 13th, 14th, and 15th. But what the 13th Amendment actually says is neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist within the United States except as a punishment for a crime whereof the party has been duly convicted. It does not say that slavery is actually outlawed and removed from the law of the land. It has been redefined and codified under the criminal justice system. So now we are having the statues of Christopher Columbus coming down in many different places. We're having Confederate monuments coming down, and yet we see so many people angry and confused about that happening. You either don't know any of this history, you are unwilling to look at any of this history, or you even know this history, but you're still just choosing to like go along with that. I mean, how can we support Christopher Columbus when we talk about him discovering the new world? You cannot discover somewhere where people have already been, and beginning the genocide and ethnic cleansing for Native Americans in the United States. How that legacy proceeded included things like the Trail of Tears, boarding schools, ethnic cleansing, removing people from their lands. Even Abraham Lincoln, in fact, is like one of the most genocidal presidents we have if you look at his record with the Native Americans, and also what he said about slavery and African Americans as well. He didn't end slavery because he believed that African American lives had an inherent value. It was something different. Look at that history as well. So there's just so much here, and when I'm seeing so many people frustrated and angry at seeing Christopher Columbus statues come down and Confederate monuments coming down. I just want to say, like, check out the history, and as soon as you can, commit to like starting to talk about it and bring up this history and look at how things actually are, because these problems are actually never going to go away if we don't deal with them. So thanks for listening today. Also, pretty much everything that I've learned today is things that I've learned from Mark Charles. Mark Charles is an incredible speaker, Native American, who he's actually running for president right now as well. But I've come across so much good information from him. So shout out to Mark Charles. Thank you for sharing what you know. And everyone who's watching this, please, please, please go and check out Mark Charles. I'm going to include some links in the description to him as well. Thank you so much. Hope you had a good Juneteenth yesterday, and take care.